I'm resident of Colorado from YouTube. Yes, I'll be reading from Wikipedia, especially on the production part of this. I'm joined by my buddy Daniel Culver, my buddy Patrick McCray, and my buddy Gordon Dymowski. We are here to review The Return of the Living Dead, a movie I first saw on TNT's Monster Vision, which was hosted by Joe Bob Briggs. Fun movie. So, Daniel, when did you first watch this movie, dude?
I think earlier this year or maybe late last year.
Cool. Gordon.
Well, I first saw this movie in high school, and it was when it first came out. And it was at a theater called the Brighton Theater. And the Brighton Theater was a second-run theater, but they would also show the occasional, like, low-budget first-run movie like Return of the Living Dead. And what's interesting about this film, and I didn't learn it until later, was that John Russo, who's involved with the original Night of the Living Dead, was kind of co-writer, and it was his novel that inspired this movie. And part of it was that part of the agreement he had with George Romero was that Romero, Russo had he had the rights to The Living Dead. And I love this movie. There is a great soundtrack. There are great moments of humor. There's a really wicked wit that goes through all this. And it's one of those films that you just, it's on Tubi, kids. Just pause this video, go watch it, and then come back, and then Jewel will bore you by reading websites online.
Oh yeah, that's where I watched that.
See, listen to Daniel. He's a smart guy.
He is. Patrick, when did you first see this?
This came out in 85 or 86.
85.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it opening day in 1985. Showcase Cinemas. Big screen. Just a few months before, I had seen, I think, Dan O'Bannon and Bill Stout do a presentation on it at a convention in Louisville, which is where the movie takes place. I think because Bill Stout's wife is from Louisville. And he was the production designer and a big force behind this movie. As much credit as goes to Dan O'Bannon, and it should, including infuriating Clu Gulager to the point that he tried to attack him, I think, with a pipe. And they had to replace all of the pipes and things on the set with rubber so that Clu could not, punish Mr. O'Bannon again for being Dan O'Bannon, just kind of a weird guy. It was a grand movie. I think this is one of the best written movies in terms of its screenplay construction, in terms of its dialogue, in terms of its choice of heroes. It is unique and unpredictable and fresh every frame, and every time you watch it, it just bounces back. It's got something really vibrant in it and very homey, very approachable. But a lot of the punk movies in that era had that quality. They could either be very alienating, like Liquid Sky, or they could be like this in Repo Man and just wonderfully endearing.
Yeah. Clu Gallagher, I remember watching The Tall Man when it was in reruns where he played Billy the Kid. Really fun series. He was very sort of witty and comedic in that too, to a degree. With this, he's playing the boss of the factory that Tom Matthews is his Freddie Hanscom is
Bert.
Bert. Yeah, Bert. I did not. I had to admit this. I knew that Tom Mathis' name was Freddie. I had no idea his last name was Hanscom. And I'm thinking, I don't think they took that from DS, but that was interesting.
That is
I think his name's pronounced Tom.
Yeah, Tom Mathis.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. So I know a lot of you guys probably have seen Jason Lives. What's you guys' favorite Tom Mathis film?
Whatever the last Tom Hanks film was I saw.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go with Jason Lives because I'm,
I actually prefer Tom Mathis's single "Chances Are." Chances are, because I wear a silly grin the moment you come into view.
There you go. What did you guys think? Because even though this is supposed to be set in Louisville, and that's where I'm going to read from production, so please humor me. Filming. Although the movie is set in Louisville, Kentucky, it was filmed in Burbank, California, basically southern Selmar, which is neighborhood in the San Fernando Valley, and downtown Los Angeles in California. The Tarman zombie is performed by actor and puppeteer Alan Troutman. Troutman, who worked for the Jim Henson Company. Which I'm not shocked by that. What did you guys think of the filming location of this movie? It really fits this movie.
Well, I kind of guess it was filmed in California because the opening scene where the punk kids are walking through, that looked like the aqueduct where they filmed like Buckaroo Banzai and Point Blank and a lot of stuff. So it's I never realized it took place in Louisville. Like it was never. They don't say, "Hey, we're in Louisville, Kentucky." But it does have that kind of
military.
weird.
The military refers to it as that.
Right. Yeah, but it's one of those things. It's one of those details I always miss because I'm enjoying everything else about it.
Well, yeah. I mean, Gordon, I'll tell you, as someone from Louisville, at no point do we say, "Here we are in Louisville." So it is wonderfully subtle in that sense.
Well, yeah. Well, it's also hard because I lived in St. Louis for 7 years, and one of the things we that St. Louisans never talk about is that Escape from New York was filmed there, and that John Carpenter actually bought a plane, had it broken up in Arizona, and had to smuggle it into St. Louis to film the plane crash scenes in Escape from New York. But we're talking about Return of the Living Dead, and yeah, I think it has that nice kind of weird small town quality. I mean, Louisville is not a small town, but it just does have that a very distinct feel to it.
Yeah, I'd say that's true. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, well, it's not like
No.
they're down at Churchill. No, I was just gonna say it's not like they're hanging around Churchill Downs or something.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Daniel.
I was just gonna say, yeah, I argue you guys. I think it was, pretty good location. Oh yeah, actually, something I really also found out because I was looking through that Tom Matthews, Wikipedia page. Apparently, he was in Never Hike. Never Hike Alone too.
Yeah, he was in the first one too. Well, he made a cameo in the first one.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. It does show here. I was looking at because I noticed it says 2 and it says Never Hike in the Snow. But yeah, it does show he was in the first one as well. But yeah, I like when they get the actors, in fan films.
Yeah, for the fan films. Yeah, it's nice to see that some of the older horror actors we grew up with are finding work in fan films. With this movie, I'll say that though they're in California, it doesn't like they don't. You can sort of see like a city far off in the distance when they're driving. When the guy who's wearing like all the black is like he's wearing like black leather, he's driving, he's got the chains on. You see a city in the distance, but you can't really tell what it is. So it could be, anywhere. So when they say Louisville, when they say Louisville, I've always had the most fun with this movie when it says, based on a true story, which is just.
I was about to ask about that too. Yeah.
Yeah. What did you guys think about that?
I didn't mind too much, but sorry. But yeah, I was actually surprised they got away with that because you know how people reacted when the Blair Witch Project tried that. But to be fair, the Blair Witch Project went a little further. They had like missing posters and stuff.
Yes, I did.
Well, I also think too that this is your first clue in that this is not going to be a straightforward horror film. that there are going to be elements of comedy. I mean, at one point, it's one of my favorite scenes is where they take the pickaxe and they smack the animated corpse in the back of the head, and he's still moving, and Freddy says, "You mean the movie lied?" I mean, and that's one of the great things about this movie is that the humor is never at the expense of the horror.
No, and it always makes logical sense. I mean, even the half dog and half cat kind of reanimated in the background, all of that stuff, it's very consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Man, what sets that up? What sets that up too, which is really good. I love how that Freddy is getting explained about how they tie in Night of the Living Dead with this, where the filmmaker, they told the filmmaker if he ever released any of that stuff, they'd just sue. He told the truth, they'd just sue his ass off without mentioning George Romero's name.
Oh yeah,
which is classic.
Oh, do you notice there's a flaw with that too? Like they say, Night of the Living Dead is based on something that really happened, but then they say that it's something that happened in 1969, but Night of the Living Dead came out in 1968.
Yeah. That's really good. What did you guys think of Alan Troutman's The Tar Man? Really interesting looking zombie.
Well, the Tar Man was actually that zombie was actually drove a lot of the marketing around the film at the time. I mean, it's a very cool design because it's not like a guy with makeup supposedly looking dead. Like it is a very desiccated corpse. It is, it's not an easy kind of, okay, yeah, or like later on with the half zombie woman, on the, in the mortuary where you can tell it's kind of mechanical. I mean, it has a real kind of creepy realism to it.
Patrick?
He's great. I mean, he doesn't do a whole lot. He says, brains, more brains. And this is a funny line. It's in this movie, so many things are memorable. And he is just one of them.
Yeah. Daniel, what did you think of the Tar Man?
I'd say they did a pretty good job with him.
Yeah, absolutely. I like how Alan Troutman does a really good job of bringing the thing to life. It's really well done. I love how he moves, how he walks. And later in the film, they show off his power by he attaches a chain and he's cranking it and pulling the doors off to get to the woman in the basement. Which is, when you're first watching this movie, you aren't exactly expecting that to happen, but that's fun. What did you guys think of the dead cadaver effect? I know we talked about the pickaxe, but Clue Gallagher, Bert tells the one guy, he goes, all right, you stand there with the pickaxe and you get ready to brain him. And he tells Freddy to unlock the door and he gives him the combination. You see Bert just standing there like he's watching this whole thing. And they open the door, they unlock it, and the door bursts open. He comes out screaming, brains! So what did you guys think of that scene?
I'd say it's pretty good.
It's probably the most realistic depiction of how humans would behave in a situation like that.
Yeah, that's
that
true.
I've seen in a zombie movie.
Yeah,
They're
I mean,
terrifying.
it's kind of it's meant to be okay, now we know what's going on because it's a reanimated corpse and, going to eat brains. You're watching this, you're going, wait, wasn't that guy dead hanging on hooks just a few minutes ago? Yeah, I think it's just a way to kind of kick off the movie in high style.
Speaking of Jason Lives, there is a guy who is in this movie who's also in Jason Lives. I forget the actor's name. Hold on, give me 1 second. I'm gonna kick myself. Let's see. No, I don't think that's.
Oh, I think I know who you're talking about, but I don't know his name. I know who you're talking about.
Oh, Miguel A. Nunez. I think it's Spider is his name. Yeah, is in Jason Lives as well.
Because I
So
recognized him right away.
yeah, he tells the one guy, this is when they break into the cemetery. This is like your Pat's guys. And it's funny. He has some pretty interesting lines in this too. I love the cemetery scene, guys. What did you guys think of that?
Oh, you mean when they went to the cemetery?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Well, these are basically bored teenagers who are, when they're punks, so they're kind of that whole against society. They're rebelling against norms. Of course, they're going to hang out in the cemetery, strip off their clothes, and dance. I mean, Jewel, you do that all the time. I mean, every time that you have Patrick and I on, you start bragging about how you like to hang out at cemeteries and take off all your clothes and dance. So I don't see what you're making a big deal out of it.
Patrick.
Jewel has the leg warmers. I mean, it is a great portrait of teen arrogance gone awry.
Yeah.
And Jewel, speaking of teen arrogance, Jewel, one thing you are not that you're disrespecting this movie for is the soundtrack. I mean, this is a collection of really great 80s era bands, including the Flesh Eaters, the Damned, the Cramps. And Jewel, I know you say, oh, you listen to death metal. Death metal is for wussies, okay? If you want to be a real dude, you need to listen to the Cramps. You start with Psychedelic Jungle, Greatest Hits, Songs the Lord Taught Us. Go, Jewel. Do that now.
Lux Interior, Jewel. Lux Interior.
Yeah, I will give this the soundtrack a lot of credit. It's what helps make this movie. It also, I would dare say, as much as the characters, the soundtrack paces the movie really well too. It deserves it. The music is as much a character in this movie as the characters themselves and the location, and it works. I mean, we did House on Haunted Hill when we did the House on Haunted Hill movies. The remake does that too. Like the soundtrack moves the movie along really well. This movie too. Who I love most in this movie is Clu Gallagher, because like this is the movie I remember him most for, and it's like he should have had a second career in movies after this.
Maybe if he hadn't hit the director with a pipe, that would have happened.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, directors tend to not like people hitting you with pipes. I mean, they tend to. People talk.
So what was the whole dispute over? Do you know?
I don't remember. It's on the making of stuff on the DVD. They talk about it, but I just don't think he liked the cut of Dan O'Bannon's jib. Dan was a little wiry guy from the Midwest, and he was a weirdo and spoke his mind, and probably asked Clu to shoot something, gave him a line reading or something like that. And Gallagher, who was not a man used to dealing with auteurs, he was used to dealing with hacks who just throw a camera down and say, okay, act in front of it. I think that was sort of the extent of what a lot of Clu's background had been as an actor, and now he's dealing with this West Coast weirdo, Pala Cartridge. I mean, this was a guy who was tapped to be the chief designer, either the chief designer or writer of Jodorowsky's Dune. So yeah, O'Bannon's a strange man.
Oh wow, I did not know all that.
He's the writer of Alien. He's the writer of Dark Star. He's the writer of Life Force.
Yeah. And
even his hack work is interesting. Blue Thunder, he wrote.
In fact, I think O'Bannon even co-created Farscape. I'm looking that up I'm looking it up just to confirm.
Wouldn't surprise me.
No, actually, it was Rockney S. O'Bannon. So, my bad.
Yeah,
directed.
Soundtracks: "Surfing Dead" by the Cramps,
Right.
"Party Time" zombie version by 45 Grave, "Nothing for You" by TSOL.
TSOL, The Sound of Liberty.
Yeah. "Eyes Without a Face" by the Flesh Eaters. "Burn the Flames" by Rocky Erickson.
Rocky Erickson.
Oh, sorry, Rocky. Yeah, sorry.
And that's another artist you need to start listening to right now, Joel.
"Deadbeat Dance" by the Damned.
Another artist you need to start listening to right now.
"Take a Walk" by Tall Boys. "Love Under Will" by Jet Blackberries. "Tonight We'll Make Love Until We Die" by SSQ.
Hold on, Joel. What was the name of that song?
"Tonight We'll Make Love Until We Die."
No,
I'd
thank you,
rather
Joel.
not. I'd rather not, Joel.
No, thank you.
But thank you for the invitation.
"Trash's Theme" by SSQ. "Young Fast Iranians" by FU's 1991 Hemdale version and subsequent DVD and Blu-ray release. Okay. "Party Time" with the same thing.
It's interesting. I've got 2 litter boxes here, and Lincoln has performed one bodily function in one of them and then went to the other one to perform the other one. I'm sorry, Joel, continue.
No, that's all.
Hey, Joel, what was the name of that one SSQ song again?
Oh my God. I'm going to hell. Anyway, so what did you guys think of the mortuary scene?
Which one?
When they carried the body over, because Bert says that that his friend Ernie Conenberner is in. They want to burn up the body,
Culver.
and he's got. So they decide to cut up the body with the bone saw. I love that line by Clue Gallagher. "Get me the bone saw." They end up cutting up, and as they're carrying it on, the one woman in the cemetery, she goes, "Isn't that Freddie over there?" And the guy's like, "That's not Freddie." She goes, "Well, how do you know?" And he goes, "Why would Freddie be walking into a mortuary?" And I love that little sequence, how they shoot it, So what did you guys think of that?
It's a great scene. I mean, it's full of great scenes. You can pick any scene in this movie and ask me what I think. No, seriously, keep going. And I'll say it's a great scene. Don Calf is terrific. They wanted to make him very Teutonic in the movie, and so they took his normally very dark hair and dyed it, this whitish blonde. He's a wonderfully likable character. You keep expecting somebody in the movie to be a jerk, and they really aren't. Trash and her boyfriend are about the closest that we get to that. But for the most part, I mean, they band together and do pretty much what they can as untrained individuals, no military backgrounds or anything like that, just trying to keep their heads above water and unperforated. And Don Calf is tremendous in this. I love his jogging suit. I love the pipe. He's smoking the pipe. He's terrific. I mean, this is a wonderful. I mean, of all things, this is a real actor's movie.
Yeah.
Where they any actor who wants to do what they can to steal some of the spotlight gets the chance to. I think, the only actor who maybe had more potential who gets short shrift in the movie is Jewel Shepard, who's a very funny, very talented lady, and has probably the most thankless part as the punk girl who is not Linnea Quigley. And Linnea Quigley has such a star turn in this movie that just about I mean a meteor could land and not steal the spotlight from her.
Gordon?
Yeah, I think there's like Patrick, there's so many good scenes, and I like the fact that as Bert and as in the initial scene where Kalfa is just so casual about like, oh well, rigor mortis sets in, so you gotta like bend the joints and make sure, like not like, oh, excuse me, I'm dealing with dead people, or later when they're explaining, oh yeah, there's a bunch of rabid weasels, so we have to set them on fire.
Yeah. Daniel, what did you think of that, man?
Oh, yeah, I thought it was pretty good. Like, yeah, like I wouldn't want to burn the if they were animals either, so I kind of understand that.
He wants to take him outside and shoot him. They're telling him it's not good.
Yeah. Oh, he's got the gun. Yeah, that's the other. He's got the gun strapped to his leg all the time, because you never know who's going to break in, do something weird, and it seems just credible enough.
Yeah.
And the movie's good with its details. What they call the crematorium, the retort. O'Bannon really did his research on all of that to find out, what all the insider terms are.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a real sense of the great thing about this screenplay is that there's no unused element. There's no like hanging plot threads. Every element that's introduced, there's a payoff, and every like the military guy, the guy who actually ends up destroying Louisville at the end, he's thrown in the middle, and you're wondering what the heck's going on. But then it's paid off at the end because he's like the guy who has to order Louisville being nuked.
Yeah. It sort of reminds me of that episode of DS9 For the Uniform where Cisco nukes a planet.
Sure.
Just a bit. And it's really, really cool. So with this, I love the mortuary sequence that we get because it's one of the longer ones that we do get because they're stuck in there before all hell breaks loose, before they realize people are screaming. They call the paramedics for Freddie and Frank, and I love the makeup job.
Paramedics.
I really do love the makeup job they do on both actors here. It's really well done. What did you guys think of the makeup in this movie?
It's top. It's for a small budget. It's top flight, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that it was not the makeup jobs were not conceived. Forgive me, by makeup designers. They were conceived by Bill Stout, this magnificent dinosaur and horror and comic book artist, and then they carried out Stout's designs.
Yeah, it also helps that the actors are, Tom Matthews and James Karen do a lot of the makeup isn't doing the heavy acting. They're doing the acting. It's just the makeup gives them a really good context. Otherwise, it would look kind of very minimal. You don't think of it as dead person makeup.
Yeah, I agree. Daniel, what did you think?
I thought it was pretty good too. Like, and I actually liked, when the doctors told them that they're technically dead. It's a little different than usual. Usually, they die when they become zombies or something. They're dead before that happens.
Yeah, their temperature is they take their
their temperature sympathy. There's no pulse. There's no heartbeat. Although I wonder if the fact if they died when they breathed that stuff in, and it's just taken this long to kind of get for them to kind of go like, oh wait, and now we're starting to see the effects. Because I wonder because I think they mentioned that rigor mortis is like 3 to 4 hours, so I wonder if that's like the implication that they died when they breathed that stuff in, and that.
I think you're probably right. I hadn't thought about it before, but that's a good point.
Yeah, when you watch the scene when they're calling Bert, go back and watch Tom Matthews' right arm. It looks like discolored. I think that, and I don't think it's from the floor. I think he's for whatever reason, because he fully turns into a zombie, and Frank decides to incinerate himself. So it's really heavy stuff, but it's a lot of fun too when you're going back and watching this movie, and you're watching how two different men who inhaled the same thing and the way they're turning.
Yeah,
and the difference.
I've never inhaled.
Well, I think the difference is I think both men did become zombies. The difference is Frank knew, okay, because he was already married. He knew that, like, okay, look, that I know what's happening, so I'm just going to end it right here and now. Because he takes off his ring, he gets before the retort, says, "Forgive me," and then pulls out the rack, gets on, and pushes himself in.
Oh yeah. What did you? So the zombies, once they burn the body, from the warehouse, smoke goes up, rain comes down, the dead come out of the grounds. Do you want a party? And really, again, really great soundtrack. I love how the car roof leaks.
Sure.
And they get wet.
Burning.
They have to run back through the cemetery. And the girl gets eaten alive. She lives out her fantasy, so to speak.
There's no Mr. Rourke for this one.
No.
Yeah, and it's not really her fantasy, Joel. It's more like her nightmare. I mean,
Yeah.
I actually watched the movie, Joel, okay?
So did I.
There you go.
It depends how you look at it, Gordon. God.
Well, he usually looks at it by watching the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joel, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Okay, let me ask you a couple of questions.
Here
Okay.
we go.
Did you happen to steal some formaldehyde from a local coroner, soak some reefers in it, and smoke one?
Well, I thought I thought you might notice the stuff missing from your house. I mean, no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Oh my God. No, this movie is a lot of fun. I do like how they shoot the cemetery scene and the zombies coming near the naked woman. It's really well done. It's just so much fun, this movie. I love that line that Patrick just said, send more paramedics. The zombies
Yeah, and then it's send more cops.
Yeah, send more cops. The zombies talk in this movie. What did you guys think of that?
I actually thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's refreshing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what was really refreshing was that one that says Q song. Joel, what was the name of that one that says Q song? Not Trash's theme for one.
Oh my God. Tonight we'll make love until we die by SS.
No, thank you, Joel.
Again, Joel, no, thank you. You keep insisting on it, and
Damn it, I need somebody to hold.
Oh man.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
You've been hitting the amyl nitrate, haven't you, Joel?
I've been hitting something. Anyway, so they devise a plan. Well, actually, I want to talk about Trash is coming back as a zombie. It's really well done in the dark. I love how they do the fog. Though there's nudity in this movie, it's not senseless nudity. What did you guys think?
what is senseless nudity?
Senseless nudity is just having nudity to have nudity. And there's nothing.
Sounds okay to me.
Yeah, I didn't realize.
Makes its own gravy, so to speak.
Yeah, and Joel, most movies when they use nudity, it's for an artistic purpose. I mean, here it kind of makes sense because it's like she was attacked. She decided to dance around in a graveyard nude. She's walking around nude in zombie makeup. I don't think it's senseless nudity.
It's justified by what's happened previous to this.
Yeah, it's not like all of a sudden I turn off my camera, I go off, take off all my clothes, come back in, and I'm completely naked.
Yeah,
that would be senseless.
That's happened.
Yeah, well, only because Jewel paid me.
Oh, that check cleared, did it? Okay. Oh my God. Now I like how she attacks the homeless guy who's pushing the shopping cart or whatever he has, and he just stops and he's looking at this beautiful woman, and she's coming out of the fog. It's very creepy. The zombies run in this too. I really love that too. It's a really cool effect. We talked about James Cameron's Frank's turn a bit. Let's talk about Freddie Hanscom's turn into a zombie. It's in the church section of the mortuary. Tina's locked in there with them both. What did you guys think of that sequence?
I think it's very subtle and very effective because I'm not sure. I think it might have been just before that scene, or it might have been happened in between scenes. We learned that the reason why zombies eat brains is to cure the pain of dying.
Yeah.
And I think
being dead.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing that, when he suggested that they're technically dead, now we see, okay, this is where the actual zombie thing takes over. That, if this gas was basically it reanimated corpses, and I think it's suggested all it does is make them jump around a bit. We really see that it has deeper and darker implications because he's even saying, hey, if you love me, you'd let me eat your brain.
Yeah. Yeah. Daniel, what did you think, dude?
I agree with Gordon. It was a pretty good scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Patrick?
AMPT. Adult male perfect teeth. They come from India.
Oh yeah.
That's a nice movie. So guys, the end of this movie, before we get to the end of this movie, I do want to we've talked about Freddy's turn. All the characters in this movie are just a blast. This movie had the perfect cast. I think the best compliment I can give this movie, it doesn't try to be George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead. It is completely opposite of it. What did you guys think?
Well, at the risk of alienating St. Butch, and I mean that,
Yeah.
Ann O'Bannon's better writer and director.
Well, I have a
Dawn of the
theory.
Dead. Okay.
Go ahead.
No, I just Dawn of the Dead is a brilliant landmark piece of horror and satire.
Yeah.
But I think, consistently when you look at the variety of his output and the quality of his output, O'Bannon is just a bloody genius. He's really good. But then there's the question of, would Dan O'Bannon have been able to make this movie without the template that Romero created twice to riff off of? And I don't think he could have. So I think, what Romero did was, I don't think this has anything to do with your question, but sorry.
No, it's fine.
But I think what Romero did was essential trailblazing, and I don't think O'Bannon could have done what he did without him.
Well, I kind of have a theory, and it's based on the fact that part of this movie was actually based on a novel that John Russo wrote. Yeah. And Russo was involved with Night of the Living Dead because, like I said before, Russo had the right to use Living Dead in his titles. And at this point, I'm pretty sure Night of the Living Dead was public domain because they never put a copyright notice on it. And I'm sure there are all sorts of ripoffs like, City of the Living Dead, Joel Saint's Beach Party of the Living Dead.
Ironically, the only person who couldn't use Living Dead was George Romero.
Right. And so I wonder I wonder if Russo, and I think he might be one of the producers on here, I wonder if he kind of used this as a way to kind of go, not just, hey, let's take this title away so that we can establish some kind of copyright, but also in a way to say, Romero's films are the serious examination using zombies as social commentary. Here, they're just there to party and eat brains, so to speak. Yeah. So it's kind of giving it a differentiation.
Yeah, and of course to reveal how humans, a different take on how humans behave under these circumstances. Um, yeah, yeah, absolutely. God, there was a point about Russo and Night of the Living Dead and all of that that was right on the tip of my tongue. Can't think of it. It'll come back.
Daniel, what did you think?
I agree with you. And like you guys were saying, you know, Romero's was the more serious one, and this one is, basically a parody, or it is a parody. I'm not sure, but yeah, I actually like how they did this one. Still, like, I'm usually not a fan of like more comedic stuff. Like, I prefer like more serious horror, but this is one example where I think it was done right.
Well, all of the comedy comes out of understandable reactions to situations that are depicted, fantastic situations that are rendered very unfantastically, very realistically. And so, I mean, we do funny things in life all the time.
That's
We
true.
have punchlines, we have one-liners, we have ironic asides, and it's when you can tell that a writer is forcing it that it just becomes lame. But in this case, it is all a natural reaction because people use humor to diffuse tension
Oh yeah, that's
and
true.
use irony. Yeah, it gives you control over it a little bit. It gives you control over your perceptions, and that's how they are approaching this. And there's funny dealing with the crap of life throughout the movie. Did you notice the eye chart?
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
Bert
Yeah,
is the
good.
slave driver.
Bert is the slave driver.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Uh, uh, yeah. Bert. Hey, if you have a kid, what's he say? If you have a kid or something, don't name it after me. This movie. Clue Gallagher. Also, I was looking at this. It says the appearance of the zombies in the film was inspired by the mummies of Guantanamo, Mexico, in the bog people of Wales, as well as artwork from EC Comics. So really, really interesting stuff. I love how the zombies. What? Because we talked about the tar man, we talked about the girl, the zombies that came out of the ground. What did you guys think?
They're I mean, again, very limited budget.
Yeah.
And there's really no way that those creatures could have worked their way out of the ground. That's the only place where O'Bannon kind of strays from realism a little bit because he has to, because of the ritual. I mean, if you've ever seen someone buried, it's almost like they are buried to ensure that a zombie movie doesn't take place. You're not only in a coffin that's been locked down, or casket that's been locked down, but then you're in a vault. You're in a concrete vault that's sealed on all sides, a big heavy slab of concrete on top, and then the dirt and so on. There's no one's getting out of that. The Hulk isn't getting out of that.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of see where Zack Snyder got his ideas for his remake of Dawn of the Dead 20 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so odd for Zack Snyder to have an unoriginal idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with what you guys said. I agree with what he said.
That guy. Yes.
What did you guys think of the ending of this movie?
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What else did you do?
Is. I mean, the whole situation is just an out of control shit show, and of course it's going to end like that. Of course, the government's not going to think about, hey, what about the fallout? If we
Oh yeah,
nuke a
that's true.
city.
And what's interesting is, for those that, in case you guys don't know, I know Jules plays them, but that's how it kind of ends in the Resident Evil franchise too. Well, I'm talking about the games, but it happens in the movies too. But that's what happens. They just bomb Raccoon City.
Here's a question, because I've seen this movie many times, but I did not have the time to review it for this. Is there anyone who is reanimated or infected due to a bite?
What do you think about that?
Or are,
Well,
Except for trash, no.
yeah,
but
trash.
okay, but here's the thing: trash has already been soaked. 'Cause she's had the most skin
Yeah,
contact with the rain
yeah,
that
yeah.
has this stuff in it.
That's
So,
true.
I think maybe this is a movie where the bite is only deadly insofar as it's going to kill you to have people eat you, you know. But beyond that, I'm not sure this is a movie where the dead have that power. So this may be a
Yeah,
situation that burns itself out eventually.
Oh yeah, that's true.
yeah, it's a hell of an observation. I would say no on that terms. Most
Because
likely not. We
I've
don't
often
see. Sorry.
I've often thought about a zombie situation where you take away the power of the bite to infect.
Right.
And once you take away the power of the bite to infect, um, really, a couple of baseball bats and a few shovels, and you're dealing with very weak opponents. I mean, you're dealing with opponents, their only power is really working in great numbers,
Yeah.
especially if they're not fresh.
Yeah.
And one of the things that O'Bannon and Stout wanted to do was to show, you know, zombies from various eras, zombies from in various states of decay, and really go deep into that. There are pictures of Civil War zombies and all of that he has, which are wonderfully EC. And if you haven't Googled Stout's original sketches for the movie, do it. Because even the cemetery name and arch, and you need a medical supply, and all of that is is it's all Bill Stout. Even the design of some of the military vehicles, which are two different vehicles that are cut together and put together to make look symmetrical. And there we are, or maybe asymmetrical. It was one or the other. But Stout had you can't say enough good stuff about Bill Stout, who also designed the sets for Masters of the Universe.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, talented man. And
Cool.
if you like dinosaur art, probably the best dinosaur artist who ever lived.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at some of his stuff. Yeah, it's really, really good.
As I said, Bill's wife is from Louisville, which I think is the main reason that they set it there. It was just, O'Bannon wanted this to be a movie that was real regular. Let's pick a place that's not used all the time, but is
Yeah.
kind of a city, Louisville. And they get all the details right, except for the skyline. And that could just be, part of the city that, is not glorified because it's not on the Ohio. Uh, uh, Louisville has plenty of tall buildings. Um, Even the crests on the side of the police cars are exactly what Louisville Police Department had on the side of their police cars. So all of that, watching the movie, except for the skyline, it it felt very authentic to us.
Cool.
There are plenty of crappy semi-industrial areas of Louisville with like weird cemeteries to the side and so on and so forth. That sure, yeah, that could be Louisville. And the thing I was going to say about Russo, yeah, I mean, there was certainly tension between those guys at various times, Russo and Romero. This movie opened wide, either on the same day or within a week or so of Day of the Dead,
Yeah.
because it was almost a choice that you had to make of which you were going to see first.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And it's not the only film that's done that though too.
That's done what?
Where you have I'll give a great example. Um the movie Doctor Strangelove.
Sure.
They when they were doing that movie, they knew that Fonda was doing a movie called Failsafe, which is basically they were getting their movie out before Failsafe. They said they knew what kind, because they didn't want people to. They wanted their movie to be seen first before Failsafe. So that happens a lot, I think.
Yeah. This was just a very this was very intentional.
Right.
You know, sort of family conflict kind of thing.
Yeah.
And Rousseau was just jealous because Voltaire was more talented.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys give this 1 out of 10?
It's a 10.
A 10.
There's no room for improvement. I don't know. Daniel, what do you think?
I'm gonna say 8.
Good for you. Why?
Oh yeah, like I said, like I know we were talking about this, but like I'm not really usually a big fan of horror comedies, but this is an exception where it's actually done right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Daniel, just out of curiosity, what's a movie that for you is a 10? So we have a baseline for you.
I'd say the original Halloween.
It's a great movie. It is the Rhapsody in Blue of horror. Yeah.
Oh, another one I'd say Saw. I know maybe people are gonna disagree with me, but Saw is really good.
Yeah, the original.
I'm a big fan of Saw 3.
Oh yeah, that one's pretty good.
I think it's 3 and 4 that I'm really big on because they take place at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think
that's one thing about Saw. Like, if you watch the first 7, yeah, they're all like take place around the same time. And, like, they actually tie in together
really well. It's, LA is a good place for movies with a bunch of interlocking little stories that fit into each other. Crash is like that. Shortcuts is like that. The Player is like that. Magnolia's like that. It just does it really well. But the Saw movies top all of them. I'm okay with the gore in the Saw movies. Sometimes I look away just because I get the idea. But not that I'm critical of the filmmakers for going that way. But what fascinates me is the fractal nature of relationships in the movie. That, yes, people do know each other who know each other who know each other, and sometimes it turns back in on itself. And I think the writers of those 7 films really good with how they really worked all of that. And of course, when you kill off your main bad guy, almost, kind of, sort of, at the beginning of the movie, so they think, and then he dies for real, I guess. You have to do that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's true.
But maybe, yeah, but I don't remember. Does Jigsaw actually die?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he does.
Yeah.
He dies in Saw 3. He gets his his throat slit with a saw.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Interesting fact about those movies. I almost worked for the guy who produced them, Daniel Hefner. Daniel Hefner is the son of the man who basically invented and enforced the MPAA ratings code.
Oh
He was
wow.
the most powerful. Yeah, everybody thought it was Valenti. No, this is the guy that worked with Valenti. His name was Richard Hefner. He's also a fine historian, American historian, and Dick Hefner, who was not for censorship. If anything, the ratings code did away with a lot of censorship because we were able to do stuff. We just had a rating with it, and I think it's great that the guy who was behind that, his son, would be known for making some of the goriest um, movies ever done.
Oh, yeah. I know you gotta be a little careful with the
Invented.
ratings as well, because for some reason, a lot of theaters are afraid to show NC-17 movies.
Well, you know why? Because there are mandates or policies or things like that where newspapers, back when they were a thing, newspapers would not carry ads for NC-17 movies. So it was
Oh,
kind
I
of
see.
box office poison. Yeah, a funny thing about the ratings code, it's not a law. Local areas may choose to enforce it as law, but it is not a law at all. I used to work at an old movie theater, and when people would call and say, "How old do you have to be to get into this movie?" we'd say, "Old enough to put your money on the counter."
Yeah.
Oh wow. Actually, that
Yeah.
explains a lot.
It does. It does. I remember the first R-rated movie I bought a ticket for on my own. Porky's 2 the next day. Not because I really wanted to see it, but just to see if I could get away with it. And it was no problems, right down the street from my house. I was
Oh wow.
delighted. Yeah. I just turned
I know.
40.
Oh,
Just kidding.
I know Rob Zombie had a movie too that was gonna be NC-17, and he, for the same reason you probably mentioned, but yeah, he edited it to make it R. But I think he ended up releasing an unrated version of that, but I could be wrong.
Sure. Was that House of a Thousand Corpses?
Oh no, it was one of the more recent ones. I think it was 31, but I could be
Really?
wrong.
Okay.
But that could have happened with that too. You know how his movies
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite filmmakers.
You know what's funny is I'm not a fan of his version of Halloween, but I will admit, if the problem with his remake of Halloween is that it's a remake of Halloween, if he did his own original character, it would have been great.
I kind of feel like he almost did. I look at it as sort of like a DC Elseworlds Halloween. It's not part of the main storyline. It's just its own thing. And because it's so different and alien and on its own, I feel like there's room for that. It doesn't, for me, endanger the main Michael Myers storyline.
Oh, yeah, I
It's
could see that.
yeah, it's just this riff. It's a riff I really enjoyed. It was weird, and it kept being what I expected it to be until it wasn't. And then it would
Oh
come
yeah,
back and go away and come back and go away. I really like that. My
oh
my
yeah.
biggest contribution to Wallace McBride of Collinsport Historical Society for a long time was doing a very deep dive into Rob Zombie's Halloween that Rob posted a link to in the book Monster Serial, which was the first book that we did.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Oh,
So it's
I
worth
know.
looking
Okay.
up.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you know this, but if you actually insult Rob Zombie's movies, he actually might reply to you on Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he was a little weirded out by the fact that I liked it. And I think, like academics tend to do, I found a bunch of stuff in it that he did not intend nor ponder at any point, but that doesn't mean it's not there.
Oh yeah. Actually, what you said kind of goes with what I say. Like, I used to say, like, I like to think of Rob Zombie's Halloween as a fan fiction, but now I realize fan film would make more sense. But yeah, basically, I think of them as basically fan films.
He's a fan, and it's a film, and it doesn't really affect the main storyline or any of that. It's its own thing. Sure. Yeah, I think it qualifies, except that everybody got paid. But other than
Yeah.
that, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Guys, is there anything you want to add about Return of the Living Dead before we go?
No. It's a great movie. Go watch it.
Oh yeah. Oh, you guys were talking about soundtracks there. I should have mentioned this earlier, but I haven't done this. But I heard the 1939 version of The Wizard of Oz goes really good with Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd.
It does. It is not intended, Pink Floyd did not intend that, but it doesn't mean it doesn't sync up very well.
Oh yeah. And for those wondering, you can actually find the edit on YouTube if you don't want to do it the old-fashioned way.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool.
Daniel, can you send me a link of that and I'll put it in the description box?
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh,
guys,
and if you ever see like a clip that's boring and you want to liven it up, play Surfing Dead by the Cramps underneath it.
there you go.
And if it's a fast movie, okay, so here's my thing with that. If it's a movie with a lot of like comical slapstick violence, there's an Estonian composer named Arvo Pärt. Actually, it's pronounced Pärt, but Part. If you turn down the volume on any Three Stooges and put on this very sad, mournful, contemplative Estonian cello music, it makes it look like this vast statement of man's inhumanity to man. It's great. It also goes well with Teletubbies. And then Yakety Sax, the Benny Hill theme, goes brilliantly under expressionistic horror films like Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. Yeah. So
So
Oh, yeah.
tomorrow night, the Great Train Robbery. So, all right, guys. First of all, thank you everybody for joining me. Gordon,
welcome.
Daniel, Patrick. You guys have a great night. Take care.
You
good
too.
night.